Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going into a single passage, Joshua chapter 17.
Right. It's all about the land allocated to the tribe of Manasseh.
And on the surface, it looks like just a detailed property survey, kind of dry.
It does, but our sources show it's actually this incredible story about two things.
What are they?
The absolute reliability of a divine promise and, well, the surprising ways people can fail to claim what they've been given.
That's the whole mission right there, isn't it?
Exactly. We want to really pull apart the nature of promises. I mean, how a divine commitment is just fundamentally different from, say, a human contract that can expire or just be broken.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The core idea from the sources is that this kind of commitment is eternal. It just outlasts time, circumstances, even generations.
To set the scene, Manasseh is Joseph's firstborn, so he gets a large piece of land.
A really large piece.
A huge piece. And a key figure, Machir, a man of war. He secures two major territories, Gilead and Bashan.
Right, and then the rest of the clans get their portions west of the Jordan. But this is where the story takes a turn.
A major turn.
It gets really interesting because of a snag in the traditional inheritance law.
You're talking about Zelophehad.
Exactly. He had died, but with no sons.
And that would normally mean the end of his family's land inheritance. The line would just stop.
But his 5 daughters, Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah, they just refused to accept that.
They were so incredibly bold. I mean, they didn't wait around for someone to notice.
No, they went straight to the top. To Eleazar the priest, to Joshua himself and all the leaders.
And what's fascinating is they weren't pleading for a favor. They were citing law.
They didn't just ask nicely, did they?
No. They basically said, and this is a quote from the text,
Right.
The Lord commanded Moses to give us an inheritance along with our brothers.
Wow, so they're calling back to a promise made a whole generation earlier.
Exactly. And because they were so confident in that prior declaration, it says they immediately received their inheritance. No argument.
And this really gets at that contrast you mentioned earlier.
It's the perfect illustration. You know, a human contract, it dies when one party dies. But this promise is different because God is, well, alive forever.
So the word given to Moses is fulfilled by Joshua decades later. It just flows right across the generations.
Yes, and the daughter's confidence shows they believe God's word doesn't expire. It doesn't just change based on, who's in charge or what the current situation is.
Which I think raises a really important question for you listening. Can you approach your own challenges with that same kind of confidence, that the divine word doesn't change based on your immediate circumstances?
And that question gets even sharper when we look at the rest of the tribe.
Because while the daughters claimed their full portion, the rest of the Manassites, they ran into trouble.
A lot of friction. The geography of their territory was complex. You had these strange internal borders, like the land of Tappuah belonging to Manasseh, but the town itself.
The town belonged to Ephraim. Confusing.
Very. And they had these pockets of cities, key strongholds like Beth Shean and Megiddo, scattered inside other tribal lands.
And the sources are very clear on this next part. They state that Manasseh could not take possession of those cities. The Canaanites just stayed there.
This is the crucial point. The divine promise, the land was delivered perfectly. The human part, the execution, it fell short.
They had the authority to drive the inhabitants out, but they didn't.
No. Later on, when they grew stronger, what did they do?
They subjected them to forced labor.
Forced labor. They managed the problem instead of solving it. They did not utterly drive them out.
So what are we left with here? We see this perfect divine commitment fulfilled through Joshua.
Flawlessly.
But the people who received it, they chose a partial victory. They settled for management.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? You have this unwavering constancy, the divine promise, right next to the very variable, sometimes half-hearted actions of people.
They settled.
They settled for forced labor when the full inheritance was theirs for the taking.
Which leads us to our final thought for you to consider. How can living today with the confidence of Zelophehad's daughters, truly trusting God's faithfulness, how can that impact the way you approach your own insurmountable challenges? Especially when maybe others around you seem to be settling for forced labor instead of claiming the full inheritance.
Something to mull over.
Something to mull over until our next deep dive.